So, Mr. Senator, if you just hang out in there with us for about a minute and a half, then we'll come back for introductions. Watch the intro. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
One God we must be counted to the united and one. In this land we are discounted. Got to end our division amongst men now. So many have been replaced. Without power, money brings pain. No. There's no reason to be anxious. Got to stand up and rise again now. Yeah. All over the world, people are changing. Changing, my God, for the better. All over the world, people are changing. Changing.
Good afternoon. How is everybody today? Welcome to 420 Wake and Bake Show with Daryl Ed and other members of the Wake and Bake crew. We have special guests today, Senator Jim Abler, and I see we have Kurt Hanna on board as well. How would everybody like to go ahead and introduce themselves? I'm Ed Engelman out in western Minnesota. I ran under the Legal Marijuana Now Party last cycle, grassroots party in 2010 with Chris Wright as Lieutenant Governor, a longtime cannabis advocate, currently serving on the board as a director for Minnesota NORML.
So, as you mind if I go now? I'm actually at the clinic, and I'm just first I got to see in a minute here. So
Please do
something, and then I'll pop back. So anyway, I'm Senator Jim Abler. You can call me Jim. I'm actually a chiropractor in my day job, which is where I am now. But I'm happy to be here and happy to be part of a good dialogue about where to go with all this, and particularly on the expungement. Be fair to people where the law changes side of things, and I'll be candid with you about stuff. And thought that would be. And then so I'm here because of Daryl. He said, "Would you please come and do this thing?" I say, "Well, I'll do the best I can." So how's that? So is that a good start?
That's a great start. That's a great start, Senator, and we'll see you when you come back in just a little bit then.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And so, with that, I guess we can do introductions amongst ourselves. We can just play two things, or we can do dabs, or we can do bong hits, or we can do whatever we can do.
Well, since the senator's no longer present.
I say we introduce ourselves after he comes back. We all know each other.
I say you're right.
Does everybody know Kurt Hanna? Thanks for joining, Kurt.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry, we just got notified yesterday. He was supposed to speak for us at our 420 event at the Capitol, and then that got canceled. So Daryl's been working on getting him to come on with us, and he got notification last night that it was going to work out. And it's just been a busy 24 hours for us, even just getting things up. So thanks again for joining us, Kurt. And Camille up there is a constituent and also a member of the Wake and Bake crew of Jim Abler's. So that's great.
I've been around with the legalization community, watching, seeing how things go. We're getting really close, guys. It's exciting. I'm excited for everybody to welcome. Thank you. You're welcome.
So Kurt, in the meantime, if somebody was new to the movement, new to activism, and new to lobbying, what would be one of the easiest things that we can do as a citizen to one of our first steps to engage with our lawmakers?
Yeah, so Minnesota Normal, I know, has a list of bills on their legislative agenda that they're trying to advocate in favor of. And I think a good intro is to just familiarize oneself with the bills that have already been introduced and, you know, what sort of progress people are already trying to make, and then try to insert yourself into the community and also into the process of trying to get some forward progress on those pieces of legislation that are currently pending in front of our legislature. It's helpful to see like what the bill numbers are and what the topics are, so that you can educate yourself to make it so if you do then take the next step, which is to contact your own state house rep and your own state senator by looking up who represents you, you then know what to advocate in favor of instead of just generalized concepts that you would maybe go to them and advocate in favor of.
Sure. I mean, I think that's a valid point. I mean, I think when I first started as a citizen lobbyist, when I was barely 18 years old, I first involved myself in local politics and got to know my local community and got to know my local issues, and then took them to my state senator, and then eventually, took my legislation to the feds. I mean, so the thing that I like about most of all is that marijuana and cannabis legislation is fluid. You know, from one state, from one county, from one city to the next, everybody has a very different viewpoint as to how they want to deal with it. And what I know is that because of this issue, there's a place for every form of activism and every form of individual that wants to do something or take part in it. And there's a lot of other bills, a lot of other pieces of legislation that you don't have that flexibility or that ability to interject yourself into that story. And and now with that, the senator is back, so I would let's forego my BS and let Kurt introduce himself as Kurt. You probably would know the senator or would like to have a relationship with him. He's an interesting guy to say the least. So take it away.
You're very kind.
Yeah, so my name's Curtis Hanna. I helped co-found the current incarnation of Minnesota Normal, as well as Sensible Minnesota, two cannabis advocacy organizations. And this, I believe, is my first time on the show, so thanks for having me, guys. But I helped draft a number of different pieces of legislation in the last 2 or 3 sessions, and I'm happy to have Senator Abeler as the chief author on 2 of those pieces of legislation. One that would reclassify marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2, and it would also legislatively direct the Commissioner of Health to petition the DEA to exempt the state authorized use of medical cannabis in Minnesota. And then the second piece of legislation would create parity between THC products, and because they're right now treated as felonies if you're caught possessing almost any amount of them, including like edibles or vape cartridges, and make it more similar to how we treat individuals that are caught with bud or flower cannabis, where they just get a petty misdemeanor ticket. So happy to be here, and it's great to see you again, Senator Abeler.
Well, yeah, and thanks for having me. And I apologize for the choppy thing. And actually, I've got another patient coming in 5 or 10 minutes. So I think since you're here for the first time on the show, I think you'll more than fill in for any gaps. But I have a, and so Daryl said, would you come here and talk about stuff? And it's part of what I'm going to just hopefully get to you all is you don't have to have people that agree with everything that you want to get some things you want to be accomplished. And so I am extremely pleased to help you reclassify from a Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. It's just silly not to. There is clearly clinical use on the cannabis side, on the medical cannabis, and I'm a big supporter of that. And actually, over the last year and a half, I've evolved quite a bit in understanding the merit of using some of the raw product. And then on the other part, on the expungement and the proper treatment of people who have, broken the law, the laws that have changed over the years, it only makes sense that they should be able to be treated under the law as it is currently. And I'm a child of the 70s, and actually, the joke about that is Pat Kessler said if you say you remember the 70s, that means you weren't there. And I was one of those guys. And so back in the day, people would go to Canada and they would search their car and find a seed, one seed, and put them in prison back then. That was so strict, if you remember the day. You probably don't all of you remember them, but it was like, so it just makes no sense you have to treat, in my view, treat people currently as they would have been in the past. That means letting them out. And it's really disappointing to me and sad that there's such a racial disparity about who gets picked up and who does not, even in this day and age, and even by officers that are non-white. And I don't understand what we're thinking here. But so I think I'm happy to take leadership on that part, and just to and so I'm very happy to help with that. And I have a lot of colleagues that are very nervous about even that part. But I do have to just let you know that I'm nervous about legalization, just partly because of my own past experiences. I don't think it really helped me all that much. And I have a number of friends who work on, and I just connect some of that to all that. And so personally, it's just hard to want to open up the floodgates. So I'm being candid with you. I told you I'd be candid, but I don't doubt that it's moving that direction. But I just have my own concerns. So go ahead.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
And with that, I have seen your viewpoints evolve on cannabis, and at least on the medical side, and we do need flowers to the medical program.
Absolutely.
And you talk about the low toxicity levels, and if you can speak to that a little bit, because there are products that they want to make levels for, and I don't think we need that right now.
Yeah, and I have to admit I'm not the expert on that. So maybe in a couple minutes I have left, Daryl, I should just talk about the legislative thing and how people should get involved. We already have 2 parties here, which is curious. You have 2 different ones. That was just kind of a curious loop. We really should have more third parties. And even if 2 are specialty related, if they could evolve into something different than just that, and have people bring in people that want something different than the Republicans and the Democrats. And I just want to remind you that the people that make the laws about elections are mostly Republicans and Democrats. They go out of their way to carve out to make it more difficult for third parties to exist. And I think it would be great to have a number of meaningful third parties. Perhaps maybe just one cannabis one might make sense, but the Green Party, we make a Libertarian Party, the Constitution Party. Just different ones to kind of break it up, because it becomes just a monopoly on power in some of the areas. There's only going to be one party running things, and in Minneapolis, it's going to be Democrats, which they're fine for some things, but you shouldn't give them all power. And in some of the greater Minnesota counties, it's always going to be a Republican. Well, that's not good either. So where's the real dialogue? Where's the fair elections that truly can swing with public opinion, and even some of the congressional seats? So the comment I'm going to offer, besides what I've already said, is you know, good people need to be involved. And I have opinions about what I think is the best and what to do, but I always learn, Daryl mentioned I evolve. But good people need to go and they need to work. And the state belongs to all 5.7 million of us. That's the latest census now. 5.7 million people, probably, 3/4 are of voting age. So please take it on yourselves. And principally, a lot of the younger people who are involved in some of these parties are traditionally not active. If you all got active and doing things you believe and don't get wrapped up in one of the ideologies of the other about what you think is true, it'll be a better state. You'll like the outcome. There'll be less of this gridlock and squabbling. Anyway, that's my encouragement. And so if you wanted to ask me like one question, then I'm going to have to run along.
Well, Mr. Abler, Senator Abler, if I may, I really do appreciate you coming on today. In committee hearing back in March, when the medical cannabis program bill came in front of the committee, you were newly authored on that bill, and you mentioned how you had come 180 degrees in a short period of time, and so I find it sort of goes against, like the whole like, oh, I grew up in the 70s bit, You also stated that like you should have been working on the plant part a lot sooner. I want to encourage you today, and I hope that you will share your story about how you've evolved on that with the fellow legislators and with your constituents. I would also encourage you to please don't be a laggard, as the word you used back then on March 1st, on the being late on the plant part. Get on board with full legalization. Accept it. It's coming, Mr. Abler.
Yeah. And I want to give you credit for staying on message. That's very, very good. But also just, and I know you're smiling, but I understand what people want. But I'm pointing out to you that someone who agrees with you on 2 out of 3 can become your ally.
What?
And on the parts that you care about, and you still want to respect people as you have been to me when they don't quite agree. But why I changed my mind was regular people talked to me and they told me their story and it was compelling, and I just didn't know. Well, you heard me. I was just sad that I was so ignorant on particularly on the medical side with the challenges and the money and all that. And so if there's a lesson in any of this for your viewers, get involved and accept a partial success as good news and thank the people that helped you part of the way. And you'll find them being more open to other things you might be interested in. And just to remind you, there are many, many issues beyond just cannabis that affect the people that you've attracted into your parties. Issues about the power of government, the freedoms you might enjoy in a free society, what taxes are going to cost you all, what we buy with it, how we help roads and the schools that you might care about, and the nursing homes for your grandparents, and all the things that are such a part of our common interests. And so the place belongs to you all, it belongs to me. And I have won 5.7 millionth of it. Only I get a little louder voice, but just so on an example that sometimes those of us who thought we're kind of stubborn actually do listen, and we can actually change our minds. So anyway, God bless you guys in your work, and thanks for having me in today.
Thanks for joining us.
All right.
Thank you again.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you, Senator.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Thanks, honey.
Good
You
seeing
well.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Well, that was real fun. Thank you again to Senator Abler for coming on. Thank you, Daryl, for being real consistent on talking with him and encouraging him to join us. He didn't have as much time as we wanted, but folks, all of the politicians aren't millionaires, and they need to work side jobs or their real jobs. Kurt, you know all about that too sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, there's a lot of people at the legislature that have to work side jobs, and that's, I think, a good thing, because it shows that they're just normal people, and they're not just professional politicians that do this day in, day out, that they have to be like all the rest of us. And I do lobbying, and I have to have side jobs as well, so it's seems like a good thing rather than a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Well, also in Minnesota, we have a part-time legislature, so that's technically why they have other careers. And I mean, I think historically, most of them are professional politicians. They're all lawyers, and so they know when they go to law school that they're probably going to be politicians someday. But we've broken down some of those barriers lately.
So I'd like to go ahead and play. It's about a minute and a half or so clip from that March meeting of Senator Abler's, just a little bit of clip there, and then I'd like to get your take on what he means on part of that. Let me see if I can bring that up here.
Yeah, good job on that, Ed. Talking to him on that, that was cool.
I have never heard of that.
All right, can you guys all see that?
And I just kind of want to, this is actually a really good discussion, and I appreciate that this is purely a policy discussion, and I just sense almost no politics in today's work, which I think is really remarkable. And I appreciate Senator Klein's use of the word scold. And I want to call scold sometime, Madam Chair. Don't answer that, please. But anyway, I think that your amendment may actually open it up more to the public. Many things start out experimental, and then there's some work done, and there could be something. And I think a good case study on how I should have been working for the plant part sooner and not been just the laggard on this. And so I think earlier Senator Klein's discussion as a clinician was the doctor doesn't have to prescribe it. But the more, let's say that something appears to be evolving as another good use for it, and there's a lot of people that think it really helped me. And so that's, anecdotal, but there's enough anecdotes that why would you not? Especially given the low toxicity and so on. So I think that the legislature will be more responsive to that voice, which I think makes your amendment even better. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator Abler.
So that's there's a lot to be heard there in his little speech there. That was right before the vote, and of course that did pass in that committee, and that added the raw cannabis flower to the medical program on the Senate side. So that's going to go into conference, I believe, Kurt. And hopefully that doesn't get stripped out because it passed. It's passed both the House and the Senate side, as far as I know. General orders.
Well, there's a bit of a snag there. The bill left committee with a unanimous vote and was sent to the floor, but it was never heard on the floor of the Senate. And it was not included in the health omnibus bill that has just passed a day or two ago. So the Senate floor has not taken up the topic of adding flower to the medical cannabis program. So currently the only two options are for a conference committee report to come out of conference committee, go to the Senate floor and get passed, or to have that original bill finally get a hearing on the Senate floor, like Chair Benson had requested, and to have that get passed off the Senate floor and sent to the House. But from what I'm hearing, unfortunately, is that this is very much in jeopardy, and that there is no assurance that this is going to pass this year.
Right. That's what I knew there was a snag, and the other two ways I wasn't quite aware of, I guess, but I knew that they could take care of it possibly in the conference committee. I did know that. So thanks for the explanation. You are much more learned in the process, I think, there, as is Daryl. I'm outstate. I don't get to go to the Capitol on a regular basis to even get in the flow.
Yeah, it's painstaking work to follow this stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean just.
It does what Gazelka does, and it just obstructs this and doesn't bring it to the floor.
Yeah, the word that I heard is that there's 6 or 7 Senate Republicans that very much don't like any progress moving forward on cannabis whatsoever, and that those 6 or 7, they have prominent enough positions in the Senate Republican caucus that the rest of the caucus are going along with their desires and wishes. So unfortunately, we're in a spot where we, I think, have the votes. If there was a clean bill to hit the Senate floor and everyone could just vote their conscience, this would not be held up any longer. Everything that we're trying to work for, probably except for full legalization, and maybe even that, would all pass the Senate floor if everyone could vote their conscience and not have to toe the party line. But that opportunity is not being provided to the Senate Republicans, and I don't know if they will get that opportunity this year.
Well, it's a pretty blunt way to say that, like, the Senate Republicans are preventing the Senate Republicans from going ahead and taking a vote on it, Kurt.
Yeah,
The Senate Republican leadership is definitely holding this up. And that's why we have the Minnesota Normal's got the Gazelka petition going around. That's why Daryl and I are always throwing out Gazelka's phone number. You know, we can't go ahead and tell him that, like, we're going to vote him out of office, but we can go ahead and put pressure on him either way. You know, that we'd like to see this come out. Give it a vote on the floor. Let it have a discussion. I mean, you know, and again, you, like you said, you don't think that the Senate Republicans are going to go ahead and get a chance. They're not being allowed a chance to actually vote their conscience on. That's because the Senate Republicans are preventing them from doing it. It's not the Democrats. And I don't understand that. I mean, you all around us, including Canada, you know, is like getting on, you know, the, like, you know, this is a plant. Let's go ahead and treat it like a plant and let people use it, you know? So.
Right. Yeah, the way that I understand the internal dynamics is that the Senate Republicans meet together in a group, they discuss issues, and then they have a vote internally as to how to proceed on different policy topics. And if that internal vote does not get 50% plus one, then it is not something that anyone is supposed to break rank and side with the other party on.
Yeah.
They are very, if you want to give them credit for something, they're very good at being united and working as a unit, which benefits them in other policy positions where they all can vote as a block, and they do it very disciplinedly. So I believe that we're very close to making some progress on a lot of these fronts. It's just a matter of getting a couple more Senate Republicans in their internal dialogue to come out to say, I switched sides, I'm with these other guys, and I'm hoping that the rest of you guys agree that the majority of us need to progress forward instead of keep the status quo.
So how close are we to that? I mean, like, legitimately, I mean, we could be waiting a decade before we get the numbers. What's the numbers inside the Republican Party? Like, all it takes is 3 or 4 to get the vote for the bill, but to get 50% in their party, I don't know that you're going to get that ever. Well, especially when you have the upper leadership voting against it.
Yeah, so the technique that's traditionally used by advocacy organizations is to do what you call a whip count. And that means you go to every single individual Senate Republican and say, what is your personal position on this? And then get the numbers, get the tally of where you're at. And if you can prove to them, hey, I know for a fact, because I talked to everybody, that more than half of you want to support this. So what the heck is going on after that? It takes work, but that's the traditional methodology to get the numbers that you need to have these internal discussions go the way that you want them to.
or we vote out leadership. I mean, I get it, the Republican is not what people like, but guess what? I'll say to every one of my Republican friends upstate, vote Democrat one fucking round, vote them back out again. Let's get legalized. As he sat there and wanted to change the agenda, your friends may be interested in other shit. That's what other groups are for, motherfucker. I don't give a shit.
Cheesehead in the house. Good afternoon, Rocky. Cheesehead in the house.
I struggle with that.
I'm late. Nikki sent me the thing, and I was with her mom. Her mom stopped at work, and it's Fish Friday with her boss that she's working for, so I kind of went with her, and then I just looked at my phone and saw that she texted me the thing. I'm usually here on Thursdays, but I kind of spaced out today and fell asleep.
He's a Packer fan?
I am not a Reds fan.
I'm a Packer fan. I'll always be a Packer fan. Hey, Rocky, what's up? Happy Friday. Or what day is it?
Today's
Oh, yeah,
Friday.
Today I'm happy Friday.
Oh yeah, it's usually on Thursdays that I'm on. I forgot about it yesterday.
Yeah, well, we got a special event today. We had Senator Abler with us, and then we have Kurt Hanna, you're a lobbyist, correct?
Well, a citizen lobbyist.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Cool. I call myself a citizen lobbyist too, but we're like a political nerd who just likes to hang around and.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely a nerd. That's me. I'm glad that I'm amongst fellow nerds.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Nerds get it done, right?
I think so. Revenge of the Nerds.
Right? I always love those movies.
By the way, I'm Nikki's mom's fiance.
Yes, he is.
Nice.
That's Rocky. They live in Portage, Wisconsin, where I was born.
Nice to meet you, Rocky.
So,
And Rocky uses marijuana as well to help him with many of his mental health issues and physical ailments he has.
Yeah. I'm glad it's helpful.
I have arthritis in a lot of my joints. I was born with a disability called arthrogryposis, and it affects all the joints in my body, and so cannabis helps me be able to be relieved from my pain without having to be all groggy from medication.
Yeah, when medication didn't help me, they tried doing pain management, and nothing we were doing was helping me. I was getting sick. Actually, I was getting sick from all the medication they were giving me, and I was having some really messed up problems. So they took me off this stuff, and I take Lyrica now. But I mean, somebody told me to do this stuff about 6 months ago, and let me tell you, I'm a lot of pain free now than all that other crap.
oh, definitely. Daryl and Nikki, and there's their daughter Allie there. They have another bill that Jim Abler is an author on. That's the Franzen bill, Senate File 296, which is the Parenting with Disability Support Services. It's a pilot project program.
Oh, cool.
Yes, and I was sorry we didn't get to thank him for that, because Senator Francis did a real nice tribute to it on the floor yesterday.
Oh, good.
And Abler found the money for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Clutch.
So, hey, I just want to go ahead and point us back to the fact that we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We are here talking about cannabis in Minnesota, both the medical program and legalization effort. We had Senator Abler on with us earlier, and he told us that he's hesitant about full legalization, but he has come 180 degrees on the medical side of things, and definitely on he did support the full flower portion. So please, folks, reach out to your state legislators, especially your senators, and ask them to go ahead and work on the cannabis legislation that we have currently in both the House and the Senate. We are very close. We might not get full legalization this year, but it's I can, what they say, Kurt. What they say? Oh, I can smell it in the air. I can smell it in the air, folks.
I recently learned that Wisconsin does have THC for medical, but it's a THC pill.
Maybe like a Marinol?
Marinol or Dronabinol, yeah.
It's a THC pill. I can take it for my pain, but I don't know how if my insurance will cover it because it's technically THC marijuana.
I think that they would cover Marinol, if I'm not mistaken. It's a synthetic version of THC, but I know people that have used it and had positive experiences, and I know people that have had negative experiences. So it seems to be dependent upon your body, and it doesn't seem to be as good as natural THC. But I don't know really enough about it to make a recommendation, but I think it's worth trying. But obviously consult with your doctor to see if they think that that's a good path forward for you.
Absolutely. Rocky, I took it for 10 years. Marinol is covered by medical assistance. But when my mom passed away, then I became dual eligible for health care. So then medical assistance and Medicare fought over which ones were going to pay for it. And therefore, effectively, they canceled it out. So I wasn't able to get my $2,000 of Marinol every month, which I had for 10 years. Towards the end of my using it, and so I went probably about 4 months, 6 months without it as I became a medical cannabis patient in Minnesota under the program about 5 years ago. Yeah, I learned that they had THC capsules here, but you got to meet certain qualifications, and I fall under them guidelines. But there's also an issue with certain people having me take it. Yeah, there certainly would be an issue with like probation or any type of exactly. Probation pro would have an issue with it. Any type of program that you might be on. But I also learned they cannot deny me medication. If it is legal and it is for pain and it's for THC, I already talked to my PO about it. She said she had to talk to her supervisor, but yeah.
The hoops that people have to jump through in order to use medication that actually helps them. In fact, I think it saves a lot of people's lives. People with PTSD, people with chronic pain and severe depression.
Yeah, I got that stuff. I also have ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease.
All right.
It's a rare disease where your immune system and your nervous system and your muscle system all shut down and we're unable to do anything.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to ask y'all to hang out for a few minutes, but I'm going to go ahead and get us off the live. If y'all want to say anything before I go ahead and play our outro. You bet, Camille. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Kurt.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That's a pleasure.
I'd like to come back to Nikki and get it for a little bit if that's possible. We do this every morning.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not ending the meeting. We're just going to get off the live.
We're just going to get off live. We're all still here.
sun up and rise again now. All over the world, people are changing, changing. My God, for the better. All over the world, people are changing, changing for the better. To my people, we are saying, gotta be a better way. There's got to be a.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, hey.
We're off the live now.
No, we're not off quite yet.
Oh, we are still